Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right, so back with another live stream. This particular stream, I don't know how long it's going to be. I really just wanted to take some time and let everybody know that the Kamen America Volume 7 and Omnibus campaign is ending today. It's got 11 hours left on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So if you haven't backed it yet, if you are the procrastinating type, then you might want to check it out. 11 hours to go as of right now. It is 10:24 on the West Coast here. And at least on Kickstarter, I haven't checked Indiegogo in a while, in like a week, so I don't know what that's at. But 2,528 backers with 11 hours to go, $104,548. Congratulations again, Mark and Tim. So yeah, like I said, I'll probably revisit this a couple more times before the end of the live stream, but really just wanted to bring it to people's attention one more time. And I figured we could talk about a few other things. This morning I woke up and saw that Jack Black and that Lizzo chick, the singer, was on the Mandalorian. I don't watch the Mandalorian, but if you see this clip, it is just so embarrassing. So figure to talk about that real quick. And also avoiding New York City, the Trump, the Trump arrest, and the reaction by the media to that. Media biased as always. So that was basically it. Clint Stoker has Downcast 4 is launching tomorrow. I was going to say a few words about that. Obviously, Soul Finder had some good news this morning when I woke up. This guy was on a Camino pilgrimage, and he brought a Soul Finder Rosary with him along. So last week, I was showing Soul Finder Rosary in the Vatican at Michelangelo's La Pieta. And this week, we got Soul Finder Rosaries going on pilgrimages in Europe, France, and Spain, and all of this sort of stuff. This is a famous pilgrimage. I wouldn't mind going myself one day, but typically, people are older. They could take time off, or they could just like literally walk through Europe and on trails and all of that for weeks and months at a time. So I can't do that just yet in my life, but maybe one day. But I thought it was cool. And as I was saying last week with the Michelangelo thing, the Vatican thing, that this sort of stuff means far more to me than book sales, because a soul is worth far more than a book sale. Obviously, Understatement of the Year nominee, contender. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Having someone, so the book's going to go on someone's shelf, or maybe if they don't like it, they'll just get rid of it or whatever. But typically, if they're a sort of religious person, especially if they're Catholic, they're going to hang on to the rosary. They're going to pray with the rosary. And that's something that they could have when they're 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, all the way up until they die, basically. So that is pretty cool. I was very happy to see that. And it actually came after some annoying news last night. So last night I was on social media. I'm like going around YouTube and Twitter and stuff. And I saw some guy on YouTube. This was like an older video, and he was saying some nice stuff about Soul Finder. And then some dude in the comment section made some like weird snarky remark, and I was like, who's this guy? So then I check, and he's got videos, and he has a video where he just like dumps on Soul Finder. And I was thinking, I was just like, these are the same guys. This person is a creator, and you're just like, these are the same people that are always just like, you got to be part of the creator community, man. You got to be part of the creator community. And it's like, wait, the creator community that like finds, like goes out of its way to dump on my books and Soul Finder and all this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, you want me to support you? Like, if I actually reviewed your work and I did the exact same thing that you've done to my work, like, I'm not even crowdfunding these days. I've literally self-funded Black Tide and Infinite Ascent and the 4th book, and I'm self-funding the 5th book. So I'm not even asking for money from people. I'm taking the risk upon myself. And you have these people, the creator community, that they find little ways to just make snarky, smarmy comments. And it's like the readers, the Soul Finder readers, they're the ones that like the books. So I like that. That's what I'm like. This makes it all worth it. So you see these like creators, like, oh, very interesting how they're conspicuously absent about other people, but they will go out of their way to single out me, the guy who's not even crowdfunding. You know, creators are very interesting. The readers will bring their rosaries on pilgrimages. They'll share pictures of the series. Where is the other one? Somebody else. Nefertiti writes, here's actually an artist. They will do stuff like this, like years after the books come out, and they're just talking about the books or whatever. But there are these others. It's just like, oh, very interesting. I never talk crap about some of these people, but they go out of their way to say weird things about Soul Finder. So anyway, this makes it all worth it. Nefertiti's a very, very nice woman. Appreciate that. And obviously, this dude right here who is bringing Soul Finder to Europe and on pilgrimages. So that makes it all worth it. I try not to like comment on, especially on the post. I don't get into fights with people over a lot of this stuff, but it's, you know, at times when you see it, you're just like, man, this is a total double standard where people can just take shots at you, below the belt shots, in my opinion. I don't even mind, like, you know, obviously people, they could review, they could do whatever they want, but it's like the double standard where you're like, I know if I did the exact same thing to them, they would freak out. Or where it's like not even like objective. Like if they just have an axe to grind, you know, this person's got some weird axe to grind, and you're just like, oh, okay. Very interesting. Xander, thanks for tuning in. Bianca, Mr. Grohovac, as always, thanks for tuning in. Captain Cummings. It says creator community sounds like some commie mumbo jumbo. I think a lot of times it is that it's like a way to control people, where it's just like, no, Doug, you gotta promote my books, you gotta promote my project because you're part of the. It's like all this sort of stuff, and it's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so, and I especially don't think so when you have selective creative outrage at people that have never said, like, you know, junk to you. There's plenty of creators, you know, I could zing them for their books and I don't say anything. I just, you know, if I get a book and I don't particularly like it, and it's by another creator, and then other creators like never mess with me, I just like set it off to the side. Let the readers decide. So very interesting. But anyway, appreciate the dudes taking the rosary on the pilgrimage. If you're just tuning in now, like I said, wanted to make sure that I let people know that Kamen America Volume 7 Omnibus, 11 hours to go, 2,528 backers on Kickstarter. I think last time I checked on Indiegogo, it was $3.99, but that was like a week ago or whatever it was. And I know they have limited options on Indiegogo, because Kickstarter is where the vast majority, the bulk of these people go. Now, speaking of creators, like I said, Downcast 4, I know Clint has his book coming out tomorrow. I think he's actually going to launch it on his own website as well. And so here's the reason why I'm talking. Clint's one of these guys. Clint's never taken weirdo shots at me, but if you get to 4 books in a series, that's nothing to scoff at. These books are expensive, especially if you do hardcover books, and there's a lot of junk that you have to deal with. So the stress that comes with campaigns, the stress that comes with releasing books, Clint is not one and done. Clint's not to and through. And he did Fatal, and he did Dracula. So this is going to be 6 books that this guy did. And as an indie creator, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. And if you remember, speaking about creator community, a year and change ago, Clint was talking about his books, and he just broached the subjects of maybe, possibly, not sure, but maybe it might be worth looking into. Maybe I'll check out Kickstarter. I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to cast as wide a net as possible. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to go to Kickstarter, but it seems like it might be worth exploring. In the quote unquote creator community, you see all these people coming out of the woodwork like, whoa, Clint Stoker. What's going on with Clint here? Is he considering Kickstarter? You can't do that. Oh man, you have to have solidarity with Richard C. Meyer, man. So he had to put up with all that stuff. And then, like a month later or something like that, like Richard did a Kickstarter campaign. It was like a 48-hour Kickstarter campaign or something along those lines. So it was like all these people were like, I don't know about Clint, man. His loyalty to Richard C. Meyer might be in question because he actually thought about going to Kickstarter. And then Richard's just like, yeah, I'm dropping a campaign on Kickstarter for 48 hours. So and then I don't know. I'm sorry if I find that funny, but it's funny. And all these people are just like, Kickstarter's evil. They got something against us. And then like a couple months later, like the quote unquote creator community is like, oh no, Indiegogo, it's shadow banned me. Hey, guess what? It seems as though maybe, just possibly, all of these platforms are infested with left-wing activists, and they are based in San Francisco and all these sorts of things. So maybe whether it's Twitter, which, thank God it was taken over by Elon Musk, it's a lot better than it was. It's obviously not perfect, but I mean, can you imagine if Elon Musk was not in charge of Twitter and Donald Trump was arrested yesterday, how that would have looked? You wouldn't have been able to say anything. That people would have been having their accounts banned left and right. The point is, I have always said Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of these, Patreon, all of them, they're all filled with left-wing lunatics that really want to shove you off the platform if you are to the right of Joseph Stalin sort of thing. So the idea that you would just create these arbitrary rules that a creator can't cast a wide net to try and get as many possible readers as they can during a campaign for these very expensive books that literally cost tens of thousands of dollars to create, especially if you're doing hardcover books and you're doing hundreds, if not over 1,000 books, because the idea that you would just be like, you can't go to Kickstarter. So anyway, I give Clint credit for putting up with the slings and arrows of all of these like ridiculous quote unquote community types that were trying to police where and how and when he released his books. I thought it was just like ridiculous. And even me just saying this, like, I feel bad because people are going to be like, well, Doug Ertz was defending Clint Stoker's possible Kickstarter decision. That speaks volumes right there. So I don't know if we could back Downcast 4 because those guys that are on Kickstarter actually say that Kickstarter is really not that bad of a place. And maybe, just maybe, if you're there over the course of years and you have a really good product, you might be able to get 2,528 backers on $104,548 with 11 hours to go. Just maybe. It seems like you might want to cast the net into that ocean, into that lagoon, the Kickstarter lagoon. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Who knows? I'm just the soul finder guy. So let's see. Vmre, that Rosary took a great tour. Yeah, no, that was super cool. Xander says leftoids, as Styx tends to call them. Yeah, they love nothing more than to push anyone who isn't them off all platforms. Gotta straddle certain lines in general with it. Yeah, no, so speaking of leftist activists, I should say. So where was it? Okay, so and the media. So yesterday you had all these media guys that were saying, here's this Ben Collins guy. He's for NBC. And he goes, oh, just a ton more anti-Trump protesters outside the park, despite an all caps call for his supporters to protest before his arrest. Trump supporters are getting deeply outnumbered by people in support of his arrest in lower Manhattan today. So the underlying message here, what Mr. Collins is trying to do, this guy, man. So these guys are so scummy and dishonest and disingenuous. This is what they do, is like, oh, nobody's turning out for Trump. In New York City, a place where it overwhelmingly is filled with these psychopaths. This is not quote unquote MAGAville right here. Literally millions and millions of people in this city, in the surrounding area, are hardcore leftists. So it makes sense that maybe guys like myself, like I said, you have family men and family women who they weren't going to drop everything in April right before taxes are due. They're going to just drop all their professional and personal responsibilities to fly to a very expensive, crime-ridden city filled with corrupt officials and corrupt law enforcement. And I say corrupt, both corrupt and in the sense that they just turned a blind eye to what's going on in their own city. And we're just following orders. We're just following orders. Yeah, we're going to drop everything just to go and get instigated by a bunch of these rabid, lunatic, goblin type people who are wearing face paint and all sorts of like weird get-ups, and they're just trying to start problems. And on top of that, I saw some videos yesterday where I don't even think they were people that, in my mind, they had a MAGA hat on, but they were acting like complete degenerate scumbags. So it's like, you don't even need to actually be a Republican. You could dress as a Republican, act like a complete fool, and then the media will gravitate towards you and say like, here is MAGA supporter, Jim Snuffy, Joe Snuffy, because they're not going to give the real name. And then they just say some outlandish, crazy stuff. And that's what they want. So it's speaking of, we'll talk about Star Wars soon, Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. It's a trap. Anybody with a brain who watched what they did with the January, 6th stuff, got to watch the algorithm. It's over. It's a trap. They want you to go there. So the media can find the lowest common denominator, find some stupid person, whether it's like a legit stupid person on the right or somebody on the left who is an instigator or whatever, and then they could twist the message. They can make it like everybody seem like this crazy person or whatnot. They could get in fights with people, and then NBC gets the clicks off of the drama because that's what they want. They want to be there, and they want to get, if it bleeds, it leads sort of stuff. If two people get into a fight and it's MAGA person versus whomever, like that's what they like. They like it. They're like, oh, this is traffic for the website. Yeah, write up a story on this. So why on earth would I ever fly to New York City in a place where I can be physically attacked by weirdos and then blamed for, even though I'm an innocent victim, blamed by the media? Because the fact that I would be there and I would be saying like, hey, this is a bogus, this is actually really scary with the New York AG is doing here. This is a complete inversion of the rule of law. This is what happens in communist societies around the world, and socialist, communist, Venezuela sort of thing. Why would I want to go there? I know corrupt officials are corrupt. It's axiomatic sort of thing. So I don't really need to go there. I just need to act accordingly. If I were Donald Trump, I would not have told, I would say, hey, stay as far away from New York City as possible. If you support me, stay away from New York City, stay away from Washington, D.C., stay away from all of these places. What we're going to do is We're going to have the largest block party of all time in Mar-a-Lago. We're going to have the largest block party of all time in Ohio somewhere. We're going to pick some dude's farm who's a supporter of mine who wants to host it. It's going to be there, and everybody from all around, from the entire country, could just converge on Ohio. And we're going to have voter drives and get out the vote stuff and all this sort of stuff in the middle. It'll be a party. So everybody, it'll be a joyous atmosphere, and everyone who's there is going to be in a good mood. And if you see somebody that is not in a good mood, or somebody that is trying to cause problems, you know that person is not cut from your cloth. You know that they are an infiltrator. You know that they are fake. You know that they are a left-wing activist posing, in a Donald Trump skin suit sort of thing, a MAGA skin suit. That's what. So don't go to New York City. Don't go to any of these places. Don't get in shouting matches with these people. Don't get in fights with them. Stay far away from them. Let San Francisco drown in its own feces, because they literally have feces all over. They literally have a feces like counter or something, like an app where you can see the places in the city where there's human excrement, so you can stay away from that. Also, all these drug addicts that have been attracted to these cities that just like spray diarrhea all over the place on the ground. You want to stay away from that. So again, if I were Trump, I would flip this into something positive, and I would go to swing states, and I would go to like places that are clearly friendly towards me, and I would have huge parties that are putting a spotlight on the fact that these people are corrupt. So it'll be the exposing corruption party, or whatever the heck you want to call it, and just have a really good time. That's what I would do. So that's why I would stay away from these places. These people hate you. Now, speaking of people that hate you, Disney is another one. So The Mandalorian was on last night. I haven't watched the Mandalorian, but I keep tabs on little things that, it's in my feed. Things show up here or there. And they had Jack Black and this Lizzo, whatever. And if you watch the video of this looks like some sort of Saturday Night Live parody. It doesn't even look real. It's really bad. And the thing is Jack Black, I like Jack Black in Tenacious D historically. I went to see Tenacious D like in the early 2000s or whenever that, it was very early on. They were at the Chicago Metro, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw them, and it was hilarious. But then actually a couple years ago, before the pandemic, they were playing out in Reno, and I saw them again. And I actually was rather sad, because the entire thing was filled with degeneracy. And I know because it's Tenacious D that they're going to make sexual jokes or whatever. Okay, they do that. But this was constant. This was a constant stream of just degeneracy and this like perverted stuff and like all sorts of stuff. And I actually I was like, I don't even want to be here. This is gross. This is like, it's not even funny. It's just so over the top with the sexual, it was just weird. It was like Jack Black's like a dirty old man sort of thing now. But anyway, the point is Jack Black has a reputation. When you see Jack Black, it's a joke. So for Disney to throw Jack Black into The Mandalorian, you can't take him seriously. Every time you look at him, you think of Tenacious D. Me and KG talking about sex supreme, all this sort of stuff. You and me, all of the lyrics to their songs, like talking about triple team or whatever. They're sort of like orgy type songs and all of this. So Tagia, thanks for tuning in. Tagia, if you didn't catch last time, I said that I will do an omnibus, and it'll probably be after volume 6 of Soul Finder. Thanks for tuning in. Again, back to Jack Black. You see Jack Black, it's a joke. You cannot separate Jack Black, Tenacious D, Jack Black, Kung Fu Panda, Jack Black on Conan O'Brien and all of these other shows doing crazy weirdo stuff from he does not have the range to be a serious actor. You can't. And if you are going to do something, it has to take place over time. There has to be Adam Sandler of all people. And I know people say I look like Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, of all people, started decades ago randomly, like he would occasionally do a serious film here or there just to show that he could do a serious film. So he would do a Happy Gilmore, and then a couple movies down the line, he would do, one of these, was it like Punch Drunk Judy or what? I forgot what the name of it was, but that's where like he started to do these like more serious roles where you're like, okay. But when you see Jack Black, I mean, it's just a joke. And then when you see the Lizzo thing, it's a joke. And I feel like Disney should just hang its head in shame, but it doesn't have any shame that you would do this to Star Wars. This is, like I said, this is Saturday Night Live material. So, all right. So, I mean, that's that. Boop. Let's get out of there. Christopher Lloyd. Glad to see Christopher Lloyd alive and kicking. That's for sure. Oh, speaking of concerts, went to Billy Idol the other night. Now, that was a fun concert. Obviously, heavy on the nostalgia for sure. Speaking of someone who their brand was made off of sexual type songs and material and stuff like that. But Billy Idol has actually aged quite well. The guy is 67 years old. He has a show that for the most part, he doesn't do like weird stuff. He's actually in really good shape. He's had a lot of work done on his face, but he sang all of his classics, but he didn't get weird about it. And he definitely didn't do Tenacious D type stuff. And side note, if you like older bands, Depeche Mode has a new single out right now. If you like Depeche Mode, check out their new single. It obviously has some dark lyrics, we'll just put it that way, but it's really good for what Depeche Mode is. So, all right, let's see. Oh, actually, Elon Musk. This is actually very prescient. There was the dude. This is April 1st. Elon Musk says you can literally film a Walking Dead episode unedited in downtown San Francisco. This is where San Francisco politics leads. And Twitter was exporting this self-destructive mind virus to the world. With some exceptions, other tech companies are still doing so. Evil in guise of good. Now, he said this on April 1st, and then basically early in the morning, the founder of Cash App was fatally stabbed in San Francisco. What else did he do? There was Cash App, and there was one more that he did. I can't think of the exact. I don't know. Another one of these tech guys. Now, granted, he was walking at 2:30 in the morning, but he was in some nice area apparently. So maybe he was out at a bar or whatnot. But to me, if San Francisco during daylight is a place where heroin addicts and meth heads and are doing all sorts of crazy stuff and accosting people and pooing in the streets and just like, peeing in garbage cans and all this sort of stuff. If they would do that during the daytime, what the heck are they going to do at 2:30 in the morning? Now, I'm not blaming him for his own death, obviously, but you have to have situational awareness. You have to know where you are at all times. And it's one of these things like, dude, you're in San Francisco. We know what San Francisco is like. So anyway, pray for the repose of Bob Lee's soul. Really sad. And it's really sad to see where these cities are going. New York City, San Francisco again. Why would I want to go to New York City? It's just like San Francisco in many respects. So let's see. Captain Cummings says, I'm waiting for the next Metallica album. So, I've never seen Metallica. I don't know. It's one of those bands where I've seen Pearl Jam, REM, STP, Foo Fighters, Weezer. The next one on the list is Smashing Pumpkins. I said that last time. So I'm scheduled to see Smashing Pumpkins. If someone ever offered me a ticket to see Metallica, I think I would be insane to turn that down. But I don't know. The thing with some of these shows as well is depending on the show that you go to, the crowd is of a certain type where they're just looking for, I don't want to say they're looking for, not saying Metallica is like that. It's an older crowd at this point in time. But sometimes you get people that are heavily intoxicated. So at the Billy Idol show the other day, the people behind us were heavily intoxicated and heavily annoying. And then this lady and her husband or boyfriend that were next to me, she was all grinding up on this guy like weird lap dance style, and I was trying to block it out to the best of my ability. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you, like, I'm literally right next to you. This is really gross. I wanted to say something, but I was blocking it out. I was trying to focus on the music, but it was like these like completely drunk people, and she's just shoving her butt in this guy's crotch. And it, like, some of the songs that Billy Idol has is like, it doesn't even make sense why you would do that. I could understand if it was some sort of like, yeah, sexy woo woo, like, yeah, whatever, like sort of song or something like that. And you're just like, this is just some song that makes no sense to be like grinding on this guy. You're like, what are you? I wanted so badly to just be like, what is your problem? Why are you? I got to watch my language here. But anyway, the show as a whole was fine. But sometimes I was telling my mom, there's another song where it's like, this is why I don't leave the house. And that's essentially Paramore. I think it's, yeah, Paramore is the band. We're like, this is why I don't leave the house, because I got to deal with these drunk people behind me, and they're just being like completely ridiculous. And if you say anything, then it's like, I don't want to get in a fight with some dude who's like 60 years old and he's drunk off his butt. But I digress. Anyway, all right, Arc Athena. I don't want to neglect that as well. I finally read Arc Athena Volume 3, Eric Canetti. Good job. And if you want feedback of any kind, then I'm happy to give it to you. There was one particular scene, I don't think you would say, speaking of creators, there was one scene, I liked the book. Each one, in my mind, has gotten more exciting than the last because I know it's building towards Volume 6. But there was one fight scene at the end. I feel like I would have liked it to be 2 more pages. But I feel like that is actually a good thing if you're like, no, I want more, man. I want more. But I know that there is a larger battle coming up. So that is my one gentle critique, is the fight that happens at the end of this book. I feel like you could have drawn it out a little bit there. And but that's always a problem. So right now I'm actually I'm writing Volume 5 of Soul Finder, and I was telling my wife that there's 2 tracks in Volume 5. So Volume 5 has the main story, which is the story of Soul Finder 78. And then it has a subplot that is Father Crane. So Soul Finder 77. So he has a very specific mission. And then Soul Finder 78 has the mission. And I have to balance it out. I have to bounce back and forth between the two, but I have to make the transitions smooth, and it has to make sense. But also, I can't just make 2 giant 72-page stories and then tell Matt, like, hey, Matt, I got 144 pages of comic book for you. So I have to keep this Father Crane story to basically a subplot, but a very meaningful one at that. That was actually the other thing, like going back to that earlier. So this guy was basically bashing Black Tide for not having like enough of a story to it, when I've literally said multiple times that Volume 5 is part 1 of the William Nebel story arc. Volume 2 of Soul Finder was actually part 2 of the William Nebel story arc. And then Volume 6 of Soul Finder is part 3, conclusion of the William Nebel story arc and the conclusion to the main arcs of Soul Finder. So it's like you're getting mad at somebody for doing the thing that they said that they're doing. It's part of a larger puzzle that will make sense once you get the 6-part story arc together. It's a standalone story, but it's part of a larger arc. So that way, the Soul Finder books will be told in a way where you can read them in any order that you want. You could read volume 4 first and go to volume 1. You could read volume 2 and then 6 and then 1 and then 3, or whatever the heck order you want to do it in. It will work because they're all puzzle pieces, and when you put the puzzle together, ta-da! It makes full sense. You can see the whole vision right there. And it's up to your preference how you want to read them. But the key is that you have to know that they're all part of an interlocking grand vision. Personally, if I was a reader, I would like to go from volume 4, which will be out hopefully later this year, Father Crane's origin in Vietnam. Then Father Crane in the 1980s during the Cold War, going after Nebel and investigating what the heck is going on with the Sea Viper. And then then I would go to the origin of Father Redder. And then I would go to Black Tide. And then I would go to Infinite Ascent. And then I would go to volume 6, which will be the conclusion, William Nebel versus Father Crane, and the no holds barred, all out fight between love and hate, love and despair. That's the plan. And so sometimes when I see people that are criticizing me for doing something where it's like, dude, I literally told you that this is not the only time on earth that you will see William Nebel ever. And it's like that it is his story done and over with, done and dusted. It's not. I literally said I was going to go back. I needed to go back to the 1980s and tell that, because I can't give Matt, if I did the William Nebel story all at once, I would have had to give Matt Weldon essentially a 200-page script, and then said, hey, can you do this next year? You can't do it. When you're making indie comics, artists have limited amount of time. And especially when you have someone like Matt Weldon, who is a really good artist, and a lot of people want to work with him. Trust me, a lot of people want Matt to focus on their projects. You have to do it piecemeal, and you have to give your artist, you can't disrespect them by just shoving everything and then expecting them to do solely work for you forever and nobody else. And you need to focus on my stuff and only my stuff, and you got to get it done when I want it done. That's how you burn bridges. You can do that one time with somebody. You can be like, hey, you do the thing that I want when you want it, and you better do it at this point in time. It's like, they'll do it for you one time, but they're not going to do it for you. They're going to be like, I can't do this. This is insane. So product, or I should say creative management, team management is key to doing indie comics well, because if you're constantly burning bridges with your artists and your letterer and your colorist and other people that are working with you and doing commissions for you, pretty soon you're not going to have someone like Dave Dorman doing artwork for you. Matt's going to leave. Jeff Spokes is going to be like, I'm out of here. All this sort of stuff. So anyway, Mr. Mill, I was finally able to catch a bit of your stream. Thanks for tuning in. Neostar Productions. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see. The brilliant star that shines through the night. The heat wave that makes evil sweat. Riserman stands before you. Well, hello, Mr. Riserman. I appreciate that. So anyway, working on volume 5 right now, and self-funding volume 5 as well. I do not see myself going to Kickstarter or Indiegogo for volume 5 either. I really like going to Iconic Comics. And so here's the thing. If you just go to a website like Iconic Comics, there's a certain population of indie comics readers that they want to see the tally at the top of the page. They want to see exactly how much you sell, and then it creates hype. And then those people are all into that. So I get that. You want to have hype around your product. But at the same time, the thing that has always irritated me, there's multiple things, but one thing that's really irritated me is there's a kind of reader that they don't care about the storytelling. They don't care about the craft of storytelling at all. They're just buying something based on hype alone. And I feel like when you if you self-fund it and you put it on your own website and you believe in the product and you know it's good and you can just reach that, if you could just get enough traction, if you could just get enough momentum going in the right direction, like an Iconic Comics, then it'll take care of itself because word of mouth will spread. That's actually exactly what has happened with Iconic Comics. But it has been a very tough grind, very tough grind. But the people that end up reading your books when you don't care about the numbers are the sort of people that will literally bring your products on pilgrimages with them around the world and share it. They are there for you. They're going to get the next book. I told this guy, hey man, I'm going to get you a Kiro Rosary, and that will be there. He said he got a Rugged Rosary combat model with a St. Jude medal on it for this particular trip. So anyway, I am interested in cultivating Soul Finder readers that care about the craft of storytelling and care about what I'm doing, the bigger picture in terms of the spiritual picture that I'm trying to paint with the rosaries and other products that hopefully will be out down the line. So again, thanks again for everybody that's tuned in. Check out Downcast Volume 4 tomorrow when it launches. Check out Iconic Comics. Check out Athena. Check out Soul Finder. And check out Kamen America Volume 7 and Omnibus. 10 hours left to go. Captain Comment says the story is all that matters. It's one of those things where it's like a wedding between the artist and the writer. And if you do it right, the magic happens, the creative magic happens. Obviously, the colorist and letter, they are part of the family as well. But when the artist and the writer are in sync and they're doing their thing, good things can happen, especially if you keep over time grinding out the hard work, discipline. So anyway, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I will see you later. Thanks again. See you.